In BMX racing, passing in the turns is the easiest way to take over the lead or to pass the rider in front of you. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my 3 best kept secrets that my Olympic athletes use to master and hone their passing. Let's talk about it. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back. Whoa, feedback. All right, guys. Welcome back to a Tuesday night edition of BMX Coach Live. Thank you guys so much for showing up. And if you guys are watching this on the replay, make sure that you like the video, but more importantly, make a comment and also subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you guys get notified when I post videos and also when I go live. Listen, Tuesday night, man, it is beautiful down here in San Diego. Everything is going well. Had an awesome day. Had an awesome day coaching some clients today remotely over Zoom that are part of my Winter Circle program. Hope you guys are doing well. I actually got a chance to lift some weights today. I actually played on my BMX bike, working on some manuals and working on some sprinting techniques. You know, as an older retired rider that doesn't get out to the track too much, I still ride my bike and enjoy enjoy riding my BMX bike here at home. And so, so the whole purpose of BMX Coach Live is to enable younger and newer riders of our sport, and also the struggling rider, whether you're a struggling amateur, you know, a kid that's moving from the 11, 12 to 13-year-old ranks. Maybe perhaps you're a struggling older rider that's getting back into the sport, who's, you know, finding and looking to relink with the love and passion that they had as a kid. Or maybe perhaps you're a current 70 to 20 expert who's struggling in that hard class, and maybe perhaps you're perhaps a younger pro that may be struggling. Either way, all the fundamental things that we speak about pretty much help everybody. And so if you guys can, it would be helpful, because my whole intent is to help out and help riders thrive, experience their potential, and sustain it. Please, if you guys can, share this video, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it where you can, email it, and do our sport a favor just by simply helping out the riders that are currently in our sport. You know, our sport, it really struggles with the ability to grow. And so, you know, my idea when it comes to membership and growth is really truly, let's help out the people that are currently in our sport now. Why not? It is so hard to get new members into the door, introduce them into the new sport, and then try to convince them to stay around. Let's help out the current riders that are now in our sport. And the more that we can help out those guys, the more consistently they're going to show up to the track, the more consistently they're going to show up to the races. And when they consistently do that, as much as you guys consistently do, then our sport is only going to take off. Hey, listen, we're live, so I'm going to take a look and see what's going on in the chat room. It looks like JP, he says, hey, coach. Alum House says hi. Damian Como says hi, coach. Cody H. All these regulars, Sean A., Jason P., Thunder Midget. One guy I haven't seen in a while is the Russian Potato. Where's he been? Where's Drew Polk at? Some of my favorite guys that always show up. N51F Racing. Hey, coach, got to say, you have helped with mindset. Man, that's awesome. And today, we're going to talk about, can we talk about turns? Can we talk about passing and turning? You know, earlier yesterday, I made a post and I asked, hey, what do you guys want to work on? So the majority said they wanted to talk about turns. And so let's see if I can bring this up. Anthony Grasher says, how to handle long turns, corners, such as what to do if I'm coming in on the outside or inside of the turn, and how to handle other riders when we're handlebar to handlebar entering said turn, and when should we be pedaling. Okay, that was a long one, but yes. And then another guy, Mitten State Bushcraft, you like that? Mitten State Bushcraft says, proper cornering techniques like body positioning and when to start pedaling off the corner. And Shane Hughes answered, said, moving closer to people in the straightaways. JP said he wants to focus on mindset and racing strategy. So I figured it would be best if we just cover turns, because we're going to cover technique, we're going to cover racing strategy, we're going to cover how to ride side by side with other riders in the turns. And if you guys would find this to be helpful, give me a thumbs up in the chat and let me know. If you guys are watching this on the replay, if you guys are finding this helpful, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys are learning and what you guys can share with our audience. And when people come to this video and watch it, it's so helpful when everyone comes in and just chimes in. Listen, I'm not the go-to guy for everything, right? Like, I'm just giving you my limited internal representation, although it's pretty vast. But at the end of the day, everyone's going through a different progression when it comes to the racing, are they not? You know, I mean, I've already done my racing. I've already lived my life of racing. I've already lived my life of coaching. And so I'm just here to, you know, provide and give you guys a platform to share your experiences. And, you know, hopefully you guys can inspire and also motivate others. All right. Well, that was a lot. Hope you guys are doing well. And as always, we're going to do an Ask Coach G section after I do the presentation on the turns. And I'm going to do my best to answer live in the chat room. And as far as, you know, as it pertains to BMX racing and training performance questions. All right. So, you know, number one, I got to say, all right, I'm going to move down here and I'm going to bring up this old photo of myself. Number one, when it comes to turning and passing, you have to have the technique down. It comes down to working on your technique, mastering the technique, getting the fundamentals down, and continuously being conscious about them, right? Like working on them all the time, that every time you go to the track, every time you enter a corner, even if you're doing a gate start, working on your technique. Number one, mastering the technique. So, you know, here's a photo of me turning, right? And of course I'm in jeans and I don't know what I'm wearing there. It looks like I'm wearing some kind of 3/4 shirt. But at the end of the day, technique is key, right? Getting comfortable. Number one, we want to focus on a technique that allows us to ensure that we're adhering traction, like our tires are gaining traction throughout the entirety of the turn. Now, this is a dirt turn, and dirt turns seem to be going away. Most tracks today, unless you go to like the ABA Grands, even then when the track pretty much packs up and it's hard, your tires tend to stick pretty well there. But for the most part, you know, asphalt corners are really, really easy to turn. Our tires really adhere really well. That's not to say you couldn't slide out on an asphalt corner. You still need to have a proper technique. So I like the outside foot down. Some people sometimes, you know, they like to have their pedals level, and in some situations that's okay. But I personally like the outside pedal down. All right. And then my body, okay, for the most part, my body is going to be centered between the front and rear wheel as far as how I feel in terms of pressure. Now, this is a feeling. Okay, so I'm pushing my hips back, I'm getting low. My shoulders are a little bit further back behind the handlebars. And then if you notice, my elbows are bent, especially that outside elbow. That outside elbow is up. Inside arm is kind of straight. It's a little bit more straighter than the outside arm. And the idea is just to lean the bike over, and more importantly, look where my head is at. I'm literally looking at the camera, but I'm looking at the exit of the turn. And I think at the end of the day, that is key. You don't want to look right in front of your tire. All right. You want to look ahead and be leaning the bike towards the exit of the corner. Now, what this is going to do is naturally and unconsciously give you the best shortest radius line, right? Like at the end of the day, turning is all about taking a tight radius line that's the shortest and fastest, and at the same time where you're not compromising your traction. That's a good technique. All right. Let's see here. I wanted to play a video. This one came from race day, and at the end of the day, let's go ahead and talk about the 3 different passing lines, right? The inside dive, the mid rail, and then like the crossover pass. Those are the best 3. We do talk a little bit about the high low, but let's definitely play this video that came from race day, and then we'll discuss it and elaborate a little bit more here in a second. All right. Whoa. Technical difficulties, guys. Where is it? All right, I'm going to work on that here in a second. let's play. Let's see here. Let me work on this. Please forgive me. Let me work on this real quick. Where did the movie go? Hold. It's on a hold. Let's see. If we do a loop. Let me try this one more time.
Berm warfare passing. The berms account for 1/3 of a race and usually hold the most action of contact and overtaking other riders. It's also one of the easiest places to make passes or get past. We'll cover 3 general passing strategies that work: the inside dive, the mid-low, and the crossover. The inside dive. The inside dive is the most common and easiest way to pass another rider. In an effort to make this pass successful, you have to have a little more momentum than the opponent going into the corner and the element of surprise, meaning the rider you're passing will not have an idea of your inside dive attempt. If they sniff it out, they can move over and prevent the pass from happening very easily. The mid-low. Following the opponent closely, enter the middle of the turn going for a middle rail line and simply cut underneath the rider in front of you when closing in on them. The key is to pay attention where the opponent's tire is so you do not hit it and fall. This pass is an abbreviated high-low, and it's a safe way to make a pass without the risk of getting passed like one does attempting the high-low. A side note on the high-low. High-lows are not effective because you generally have to take a longer radius line than the opponent. Further, you risk getting passed as you swing wide in the berm. The best time for a high-low is when nobody is behind you and traffic is bunched up high in the turn. All the components have to line up well for a high-low to work, so be smart and know when to use it. The crossover pass. This advanced pass has the element of surprise. It's basically an inside dive that develops before the entry of the turn. Following the opponent, either directly behind them or on the outside, you have to start the pass before the start of the turn, basically cutting from one side to the other with a commitment of diving on the inside of the berm. Practice this line before attempting this in a race situation. Just a few notes on passing. Remember, the key to executing passes is to occupy the opponent's line coming out of the turn and to continue to pedal to the next section of the track. Lastly, riders should take the time to practice these passing lines during practice to make them more instinctive for racing. Practice these lines on new berms as well. Don't forget about technique and traction. Berm.
All right, guys. Hope you guys learned something there. In the chat, let me know what questions you have. But I think at the end of the day, I think after learning all these different passing lines, man, you guys have to work on the strategy. You know, when I was younger, I would say, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, I used to get into the gate with other pros, especially like struggling A pros. So I was like just as fast as the A pros, but they would always pass me in the first turn, no matter how much I got the whole shot. And I learned a lot from that. And they were always thinking ahead. They were always thinking ahead, and they were always working on the strategy of passing. And so, you know, these are things, you know, you have to get a partner and work on diving on the inside, getting comfortable of diving on the inside, going really fast. You have to work on that mid-low pass, and then of course that crossover pass. That crossover pass requires one to think ahead. And so, you know, work on your passing strategy, work on the passing strategy to make it more automatic. And that way it's more instinctive and you're not really overthinking it, right? It's like, you know, when you're behind someone, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a turn coming up. Like, what am I supposed to do? No, if you guys practice it, then unconsciously you're going to know what to do. If you practice it, then you have programs to just like programs on a phone. They just launch and they know what to do. You guys have to program yourself just like an app. So practice the strategies, practice programming that inside dive, that mid-low, and that crossover. Now, here's an example here. Here's an example of Tyler Brown and Kai Sakibara. This was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, but you know, Tyler here, he is just hunting, right? He's hunting Kai down. And it's just going to keep replaying and replaying, but you always have to be hunting, always be hunting, always think about getting really close to that rider in front of you and challenge them and try to set them up. Okay. And Tyler made a couple nice attempts to always be practicing moving ahead, and he's just going where Kai is not. And Kai does a good job of holding him off, but still, this is good practice here. Really good practice. Now, another good way to practice, let's see here. See if I can bring this one up. Woo! There you go. Don't back away.
Getting dizzy. Good.
You gotta fight me, man. Keep that core fucking tight.
All right, take a break. Take a break.
Woo! There you go. Don't back away.
Getting dizzy. Good.
You gotta fight me, man. Keep that core fucking tight.
All right, take a break. Take a break.
Woo! There you go. Don't back away.
Getting dizzy. Good.
You gotta fight me, man. Keep that core fucking tight.
All right, take a break. Take a break.
Test. All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Don't back away.
Because it looks like the video is locked up.
Getting dizzy. Good.
Please be
Fight me,
patient.
man.
Keep that core fucking tight. I'll look on my phone and see
All right, take a break.
if
Take a break.
this is actually working. Okay, we're good.
Woo!
It's kind of...
There you go.
I don't know, it's not working all
Don't
that
back
great.
away. Getting dizzy. Good.
Okay, cool. All right, everything looks good. It's weird. My monitor,
Fight me, man.
it's doing this spinning wheel of death, but I
right,
got
take a
my
break.
phone, and so I can see that we're still live. I'm on a little bit of a delay here, so cool. Anyways, what I was saying is that here's Corbin and Shira and I were working on figure eight turns, and this was right before the Rio Olympic Games, and this was, probably a day when we did track work, we did gym work, and then I was looking for an opportunity to sneak in, just like a 10-15 minutes easy session of working on our turns. And working on flat ground turns is an easy way to, number one, work on your technique, work on your positioning, work on your ability to look where you need to go, and at the same time work on your tire traction. If you do it with a partner, then it's an easy way to work on defending someone that's trying to pass you, and then also work on passing somebody else. And at the same time, it's an easy way for you to get a bunch of condensed work in a short window of time, because you're doing figure eight turns. And while, if you're at the track, you have to wait for a turn to happen in an effort to work on your technique, to work on passing, to work on defending, getting past. And so flat ground turns, man, is an easy way for you guys to actually start getting a lot of repetition. Again, when it comes to skill, repetition is the mother of skill, but it's really the father of mastery, right? If you guys can continuously work on this away from the track and with a partner, man, what an easy way to easily and effortlessly work on your turns. And so, again, I cannot preach enough. As funny and as easy and as potentially lame, right? Sometimes this just doesn't look like a whole lot of fun, but it's crazy how much you guys can get out of this. I have all my winner circle athletes. They all work on figure eight turns, and they absolutely love it, right? And we sneak them in like after a gym session or after a sprint session. It's easy to do. It's also easy not to do, so you guys might as well do it.
Getting it.
All right. So yeah.
Woo!
Let me ask you guys, what questions
Don't back
do
away.
you guys have as it pertains to passing, as it pertains to turning? Let's see here. JP says, what I learned from your DVDs is trying not to be on the outside. Yeah, you want to get over to the inside as much as possible. If you guys don't have that opportunity to do that, then you might have to wait for tires to clear and then find a way to cross over and under their tire and make a crossover pass. Yes, just a heads up, you're talking over the video sound while you speak. Not sure if that's intentional. Yes, it was intentional. Um, Here we go. Remington Meredith, you got any advice for getting more trust in your tires? Like in the turns? Is that what you mean, Remington? PM Colette, I have to keep my core tight when turning, I hear. Yeah, I was telling Corbin, he was complaining like, I was just telling, I was going over the fundamentals as I was actually following him through the turns, and I was telling him, and I probably swore a couple times in that video. I do love to swear when I coach. It's awesome. But yeah, I was telling him like, dude, you got to keep your core tight, man. If I'm going to come in and give you a hit, you got to keep your core tight. And that way you don't want to be rigid in your arms and your legs, right? You want to be able to have that flexibility if someone gives you a hit. That way you can kind of like, finesse off the line. If you're too rigid, then your tires are going to just, they're going to slide. They're going to break traction and you're going to fall flat. So, LEBMX, should I pedal throughout the whole corner? Yes, I'm glad, Ellie, thank you so much for participating and thank you for showing up and asking all your questions. I saw your questions in the post yesterday. I'm so grateful for you to be here. And I'm so glad that you asked that question, should you pedal through the turn? Now, here's the thing. It all depends on the circumstance, the context, the age of the rider, how fast you're going. Sometimes like with pros who are big and fast, sometimes it's unnecessary for them they're going so fast, they don't need to pedal through the corner. They're more worried about traction and positioning, especially in a first corner. However, if you're like a younger rider that's a little bit more slower than the pros, or maybe even half the speed of the pros, sometimes it behooves us to get as many get as many pedals as we can going into the corner at least. If you have to coast to make that pivot and make that turn, so be it. And then at some point you have to be looking ahead. And when you start to straighten out and you feel comfortable that you can start pedaling, then go ahead and do so. One of the problems is that a lot of riders just don't have the leg speed to pedal entire turn because you're going really fast. And at the same time, like it just depends on the circumstance. If the corner is paved and it's long and drawn out and you can pedal the whole corner, then why not? I think at the end of the day, that's something that you have to consider by practicing, right? You got to give it a try and do that before the racing starts. I wanted to add another thing. I remember I think it was like 1997. I was going up for the #1 pro title. And one of the things that I was working on, because I knew the competition, I knew this guy, his name was Christophe Levesque. I always bring him up. I had some of the best racing with this guy, and he wasn't that good in the turns. And so he was really good getting the whole shot. And I was good at getting the whole shot, but, I would say probably 6 out of 10 times he would beat me to the first turn. So I would have to find ways to get around him in the first turn and also, the second and the last turn. So what I would do when I show up to a race, especially a new track, I would practice all three of those lines. I would practice that inside dive, that I'm going to start making that pass. All right, hopefully the stream's going okay. It's like, seems to be pausing here left and right. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Let's see here. Jason P, my son. Jason P says, turn. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I see that it's like buffering. Let's see here. Are you going? David Burt says it's a little bit glitchy, but it's definitely. Again? I don't think the internet knows what to do. Shut that down and then I'm gonna restart it. All right, so we restarted the stream and then it goes yellow.